Welcome to the world's first straight talk Solarcast. This is your go-to podcast for answers about solar. Brought to you by Solar Harmonics in Northern California, who invite their customers to own their energy by purchasing a solar panel system for their home, business, or farm. Each episode, we discuss questions facing people making the decision to go solar. The solutions to your questions are given to you straight by one of the leading experts in the solar industry, Jamie Duran, president of Solar Harmonics. Feel free to search our library for answers to questions that you're facing when considering solar. And now, here's Adam Duran, our host with the questions, and Jamie Duran, our solar expert with Straight Talk Solarcast.
Hello, Jamie.
Hello, Adam.
How's everything in the land of solar this week?
It is very good. Lots of excitement happening. And boy, new year, sunny weather, 60-something degrees here in Brentwood. And people are starting to plan for solar already for their homes and their businesses and their farms and apartment buildings and all kinds of fun stuff. So I thought it would be a good time to talk about, kind of our normal, which is how do you select a solar contractor, from all the ones that are out there and all the spam and all the emails and social media posts and everything, and kind of cutting through it and making an informed decision on who you should select for your solar contractor.
I love it.
Okay.
Good topic. Good topic, Jamie.
Good.
What's our first step?
Well, the first thing is, when you're doing your research, first thing is to make sure and look for the contractor license number. So every state, solar contractors have to have a license number. And generally in California anyway, we'll just use that as an example. You can go to cslb.org and you can search for the company name. You can search for the name of the contractor, or you can search by their license number, which is generally the easiest, because lots of times they have different, doing business as, or different, holding companies or whatever. Mm-hmm. But the main thing you want to look for is if they have any complaints, if they have valid license, or if their license is not suspended or canceled, or all the different, notices that they have. And if they have any, I wouldn't say it's unheard of for a good contractor to have complaints, but it is not a good idea for them to have unanswered complaints. So that's kind of a big one. So starting there, just make sure they have a valid contractor license. So many, and what that'll do is filter out all of the solar brokers, all the solar sales guys, all the lead services, because I'm sure you've seen on social media, California is now giving away free solar to just a few homeowners and things like that. That I'm like, oh boy,
how does that work? Okay.
So you fill out their form. They bombard you with, email, phone call, text message, and then they sell your information to, 5 solar contractors in the area or more. And then the fastest one will call you, email, text message you, bombard you until you have no desire to go solar ever again. So well done, awesome. Lead services.
Yes.
So in any event, so start with the license. And then the next thing is checking on their online reputation. So what are people saying about them on Yelp and Google and Nextdoor and AngiesList? So there's pitfalls with that too. But if you kind of see a consistent theme that they are all pretty good reviews, then, kind of read into them, look at the most recent and then look at some of the, reviews that are a year or so old. But it's kind of, you can kind of get an idea if they're fake or not, because if you don't know, you can buy all these reviews online, and these services are trying to get rid of that. But, with all of a sudden the guy next door pops up with, 1,600 reviews. That's kind of a 1,600 5-star reviews. That's a pretty good indicator that those are fake. But in any event, so it's a good place to start. And looking at the most recent makes a good amount of sense. And then The next thing is to check their length of time in business. So you can, if they're a corporation, you can go on to, in California again, you can go on the Secretary of State website and you can pull up their business name, and you can see if they, if they're incorporated and how long they've been in business, and you can actually see who the officers are and that kind of thing. Even a home address, if you if you can dig further in
Wow.
there, which is kind of crazy. In any event, no one steal my identity, please. But it's crazy that all this stuff, is identity theft an issue or not? But in any event, you can find their length of time in business. And then once you actually get a proposal from them, my recommendation is don't sit with a salesperson initially. Have them send out the proposal to you. And so you can review it. And some of the things to look for, aside from their reputation and the length of time of business and their contractor number, is also look for the equipment that they're proposing. So all kinds of differences in equipment, but they should be called out. So if it's a JA Solar, you can Google that and you can say, oh, that's a Chinese-made solar panel, and generally nothing wrong with it. But if you further dig into that, they may have some issues with slave labor, and they might be named in different kinds of issues with the State Department. And JA Solar is a big manufacturer of solar panels, one of the biggest, and so they have been linked. Nothing 100% true, of course, or 100% proven, but the State Department has them on a list. Also, check to see if with your solar inverter. That's the brains of the solar panel system. So the solar panels capture direct current electricity, and then the inverter inverts that energy into alternate current, which is what we use. And so, if it's a manufacturer like Solar Edge or Enphase, SMA or Tesla, those are all really good systems, but definitely maybe look on Yahoo Finance and see which companies are doing well and which ones are not. And the reason it's important is because if you buy a solar panel system, the equipment warranty comes from the manufacturer. It doesn't come from the installer. And so if there's an issue with that solar inverter, and let's just say it's 1 year, 5 years, 10 years down the road, if they're no longer in business, that means you have to buy new equipment, and that's probably not covered by any warranty. So, that the idea that they're going to be in business to cover their warranty down the road is pretty critical, because the solar equipment is like any kind of equipment. The air conditioners go out and furnaces go out, and garage doors go out. It's just you want it to go out, and it's never fun when it does go out, but it is important to be able to identify when it goes out and have someone to call if they are still in business. If they're not in business, then that's going to be more cost for you, and your system will be down for a bit longer.
Wow. So you recommend going and checking out the manufacturer's health, basically the health of that company, because so many have gone out of business.
Yep. You can do a Google news alert, and if they're like, they're in the middle of layoffs, or a new CEO and restructuring and things like that, doesn't always mean terrible news, but generally businesses that are doing really well don't do layoffs and don't do aren't restructuring, and the CEO isn't getting fired and all that kind of stuff. So just keep that all in mind. Yeah. Okay. And I mean, there's definitely recommendations. There's so much to know when going into solar. That's why I started with what is the reputation of the company, and how long have they been in business? Because if your inverter goes out, the first call is going to be to the installer and saying, hey bro, my inverter's out. I'm not getting any power. Hopefully that call actually came from the manufacturer or from the installer, that they're watching your system. But we've learned that it's very rare that that happens. And but so if they can't call anyone and that manufacturer is no longer there, then they just kind of shrug their shoulder and say, what do you want to do? Because it's you need your system to be producing, but new inverters, it can get really complicated, especially if there's optimizers or microinverters up on the roof, then it's a whole new system, and so that's not great.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, plenty to consider. Do you have any questions at this time?
I'm just shocked that you have to go that deep in your research, right? So that way, it's like you should expect that over the life of the system, something will break, and you will need to reach out to somebody. So making sure they're in business, and then making sure. I mean, when you buy a refrigerator, are you going, okay, the manufacturer here?
No, but you're dealing generally with the manufacturer. If you
right.
Anyway, so
but
if you buy a car, I'm not saying you're going and looking at who's making the brakes or something like that. But it is with solar. This is something that's probably on your house. It's going to be on there the next 30 to 40 years. So it's going by the cheapest is kind of the absolute worst way to buy solar. Because all of the equipment, you can, if everyone's selling REC solar panels and Enphase inverters, and they have a license and that kind of stuff, but the quality of the installation, the customer service, the ability to stand behind the installation is pretty key. We get calls, we're going into our 17th year in business, which is cuckoo to me, but we still hear from our customers 10, 15 years ago that are not hey Jamie, how are you doing? It's my system is having it's kind of funny.
Nobody calls up and goes, hey Jamie,
great job on that. We appreciate we're so happy with the system. That does happen. So that's really great. But the next thing I want to just talk about is there's still so much information out there about the financing. And I know we're kind of running out of time, so maybe we'll talk about this next week. But please do research if you plan to finance the system. Interest rates are still really high. And so if you hear of a loan that has, 2.99% for 25 years or, 20 years, in general, those add a 20 to 30% loan fee onto the cost of the solar project. So if a solar project costs $20,000, and a 30% loan fee is added on, do you know what you're actually borrowing then, Adam?
No.
$26,000. So
wow.
It's significant. And so that's what your payment is based on. And so, and that, to me, that's kind of crazy. And I always advise my clients pay off the loan as soon as you can, because then you're minimizing the interest. But we can discuss that more. Avoid leases. And these days in California, you can expect break-even times 5 to 7 years is about normal, but it's probably going to be faster just because PG&E rates are just out of control. We're seeing average rates on electricity bills now over 50 cents a kilowatt hour, which is just nuts. And so solar is still a no-brainer. 30% federal tax credit, still doing great. And no better time to go solar than now. So we'll stop there. And it's a lot of information. So hopefully I'll put this in the notes so everyone can get an idea of what to look for. But make sure to share this one out to anyone that's considering solar. It's pretty critical so they don't end up with a system that is, kind of all the worst things that can happen, because we do deal with the worst case scenario almost on a daily basis with people who have, did not listen to this podcast and went with a system from a door knocker, and now they're stuck and they don't know what to do. And we hate hearing these stories. It's never good for the solar industry.
Wow. Thanks, Jamie,
for
doing this podcast episode. I love it.
Oh, good.
It's great information. Thank you very much to you, the listener, who taking some time out of your busy week to learn a little bit more about solar. Jamie's been doing this podcast for, I think, 7-8 years now. So this is the preeminent resource for anyone considering going solar. It will save them and you thousands upon thousands of dollars over the life of the system. So if you have a question for Jamie for an upcoming episode, you know what to do. You can go to our Facebook page, Straight Talk Solarcast, send us a message through there. If you'd like to visit a library of our past episodes, you can go to solarharmonics.com and click on the podcast link at the top of the page, and you'll be taken to that library. If you have a friend considering going solar, this would be an excellent podcast to refer them to because it does give them some actionable, real life, meaningful, unbiased tips that will definitely save them tons of money. So until next time, everyone, see you.
That's all for now. Thank you for listening to this episode of Straight Talk Solarcast with solar expert Jamie Duran. Join us each week for more answers to your solar questions. Speaking of questions, got some? Email us at solarcast@solarharmonics.com and we'll be sure to give you an answer in an upcoming episode. This episode of Straight Talk Solarcast is brought to you by Solar Harmonics, the leading solar energy developer in Northern California, who invite you to own your energy. Visit them on the web at www.solarharmonics.com.